raise an additional $100,000 to have.
Why don't we focus the training program on
The
this?
committee is working on a presentation they will.
First rider, Steve Officer, crossed the finish line.
U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs.
You're making less money. Are you bitter? Are you angry?
Hi everybody, Tammie Riley here. I'm here today with Andrew McKeever to talk about the 1-year anniversary of the News Project. So Andrew, we launched the News Project a year ago, August 10th, 2016. Later, we wanted to sort of go over some of the pieces that we did over the last year and talk about what we've learned and what we've done and where we hope to go with the program. So.
And, you know, just to back up for a second, it's certainly been an interesting experience. I kind of really, looking back now, I realized I had no idea what to expect when we started this whole thing. I had no idea how it would be different, you know, from the old print world that I was used to, and certainly video, doing things in video or telling stories by video is a really different experience from writing it out in a story. You know, the camera does some of the work that you'd normally be thinking you'd fill in the gaps with. So it's been certainly eye-opening for me and a great experience. And I guess first and foremost, fun working with a great group of people. You know, we have a terrific team here, and everyone's been incredibly helpful, and I've really appreciated that very much.
When we first started out, I think we sat here in the studio and we had a quick conversation about what are we trying to do here and what are our goals, and we're sort of now a year later looking back at that conversation. And we're going to start with producing short segments on what's happening in local government. We know we want to do that. Mm-hmm. We want to cover some specific legislative happenings like Act 46, and I don't know what's going to happen in 2016. We know we're going to cover government. We'd like to cover arts, entertainment, community events. We've even talked about doing some how-to segments. We're heading in the direction that we thought we were going to be last year, and that's covering content that's not covered elsewhere and really trying to dig into the community and cover issues that impact us. So let's talk about some of the content.
Okay.
And sort of go over some of your favorites and some of the things that I think were important for the project.
There certainly are some that really stand out. And I guess for me personally, even though, and it's kind of ironic in a way because, you know, our focus is local and Bennington County, you know, the northern end of Bennington County and a little bit over into Windham County. While that's mainly what we've been trying to do, I think, or you know, pretty much kind of what my focus has been anyway. The one that does stand out, simply because it was so different from all the others, was the Women's March on Washington story that we did. I was fortunate to be able to ride along on that bus trip, and that whole experience was just so remarkable. You know, all the way from leaving in the darkness from Burton and waking up in the morning in Washington, and then walking into downtown Washington, you know, all of a sudden seeing 500,000 people there. That was really quite amazing, really. You know, regardless of what your politics are, what you thought about, you know, why all those people were there, to be part of that and then to try to tell that story from the perspective of the local group of folks from, you know, the Manchester, northern Bennington County area who had gone there and followed them around, was really pretty amazing. And that's the one that always stands out in my mind as being, you know, I think back over the past year, wow, that was a pretty cool story.
It was an opportunity, I think, for you and for the community to sort of get a bird's eye view on what was happening there. And you also were able to go up to Montpelier a couple of times.
Right, spending the day there and following our local state representatives and senators around. Always interesting to kind of see how they interact with their colleagues up there and other state leaders. And what was really interesting about that day was, by complete random circumstance, accident, that happened to be the day that Governor Phil Scott made his announcement about the fact that Vermont wasn't going to be necessarily marching in lockstep with Washington on the immigration executive orders. I thought that was quite an interesting moment because it was, you know, tripartisan. You had Republicans, Democrats, and progressives all in the same room, kind of on the same page around that, and that was just nice to see. It made me feel really proud to be a Vermonter, actually, to see our state representatives kind of standing up and saying, you know, this doesn't really work for us. Our main focus is local, and you know, all these other stories we've done about, you know, whether or not it's been a government thing, like a select board meeting or a school board meeting, or something interesting that a individual is doing. It's kind of unusual. There's just been a lot of stuff, I think, to be able to drill down and see how stuff that has maybe national ramifications or is localized. It's always fascinating to see how those things play out, on our local level.
One of our goals at the outset was to bring a voice to issues that impact us in Southern Vermont. And I was looking at the content, 155 segments and 25 in-depth discussions, and there's a lot of content there. So if you haven't seen it, go to our website. There's coverage of events and government and all kinds of happenings, like you're saying, interesting folks. The Act 46 coverage that you did, I think was especially pertinent to our area and anyone in Vermont, really. We covered the chamber evolving, dissolving, and then the evolution of the Manchester Business Association, and we covered the economic summit. So there was, we've covered a lot of themes, including from government to business to just community events and different things happening. The election night was another, we did primary coverage, we did election night live coverage, which we've done in the past, but we did it again, and that was a fascinating evening on all
It
fronts.
was, yeah, boy, no kidding. And then that discussion that we had here in the studio in September with the candidates who were running for office, I think that was kind of that was a really interesting back and forth.
The primary
night.
So I want to take a minute to thank the staff. Every staff member that works for GNET has had a hand in getting this project off the ground from the very beginning to concepting and graphics and music and putting it together and chasing down stories and helping Andrew get the content. It's really been a team effort, and I want to take a minute just to thank everybody because I think we've learned producing video is hard. It takes longer than you think it should. Andrew's learning that the hard way.
No kidding.
But it takes a whole team to really make it happen. So I think that's important to point out to the community. We're seeing a lot of Andrew on camera, and he's got a big team support behind him. So
it takes a village or something.
Yeah, right, something like that.
Maybe it takes a city. I don't know.
Perhaps. and the other thing, I was talking with the staff about, why are we doing this, and what do we hope to gain from it, and why does it matter is the question. Why does it matter what we're doing? Why does it matter? And again, we hope to be uncovering issues that are important. We hope to be engaging with the community and getting them involved and telling their own story and conversing with one another about what's important. But one of my staff members pointed out that in 50 or 100 years, this is a video time capsule of our community, and we're the only ones doing it. No one else is doing this. We don't have commercial coverage on television, really. We're stuck in between Burlington and Albany, and that was sort of part of the reason that we launched this. And so that's a really valid point. That it's a video time capsule documenting our community and what's going on, and I think that's really why it matters. One of the reasons that it matters. So,
sure. Well,
wanted to
like
point
the
that
old
out.
saying goes, journalism is the first draft of history.
Right.
So we're doing it not just for something that could be read later, but this is an actual visual record of what happened. What did people actually look like when they were going about doing all this stuff. So I think that's pretty neat, and as you suggest, future historians will be glad to have it.
So as we embark on the next year of this program, we're got the first year under our belt, and where do you hope to go from here, Andrew?
Well, I guess you can always get better at stuff. Right? Is the way I look at it, and I guess my goal is to try and get better at not just identifying and isolating stories, but how the craft of how they're done.
So part of our hope for the next year with the news project is to really engage with the community more, to get you all in here. Tell us what you want to hear. If you have an idea, you have a story, call us up, send us an email, let us know.
That's the main thing, and that's what it's all about, really. And I'd like to echo what you just said about inviting folks who are watching either on the website or on TV, to not only share that content, but also to tell us what are the stories that you'd like to hear about or learn more about? Or if there's something that somebody you know is doing something that's kind of unusual or a little off the beaten track, and tell us about it.
So there's a number of ways. You can go to our website. You can email news@gnat-tv.org. Send us anything. And call. The old-fashioned phone is always available.
Still works, yeah.
It's been an amazing year. I'm really pleased with the progress and what we've been able to do as a small team.
Tells us how it began when it comes to special education services.
Yeah, we met with the principals early on.
He has been looking at alternatives to changing the road.
Chloe, help me turn. There it goes.
No, you can. Sometimes you do.
More than 1,000 horses and more than 3,000 riders.
Overseer of the poor, which allowed me to live an independent life.
Who was very active in the revolutionary circles.
Be there, after you've gotten off a boat.
Compliments to everybody.
Running around with my kids out in the rain.
Oils, that instantly to me means there's going to be some heavy equipment.
For information, a new visitor center has been opened last time with fellow Vermonters.
I'm not sure about Bill's stats because I haven't.
And they're out in nature. They're also learning about.
Appeals court and is currently not in effect.
Well, these are uncertain times.
Executive for the New York Knicks.
The schools were governed that had folks concerned.
So thank you all so much for watching, and I want to thank the 300 community members that participated in producing the segments. And Andrew, thank you for sitting with me here today.